Travel in 2020 has gotten a little bit complicated, but it doesn't mean you can't travel. So I've been getting a lot of questions on Instagram recently how I managed to get here to Mexico. Because if you listen to the news, it makes it sound like all the borders in North America are shut. But here's the thing that you don't hear that often, and that is that you're actually able to go from Canada to Mexico or the US to Mexico as long as you are flying. The land crossings, the land borders are all shut, but if you're taking a plane, they won't refuse you. And you can even say why you're going. I personally said I was here for leisure, that I was going to be in the sun to go enjoy the beach, and I had no questions about it. With that said though, if you plan to take the land crossing and go across the border by car, you're gonna need a legitimate reason for entering into the new country. So whether you're going from Canada to the US or the US into Mexico, just make sure you're flying and you should have no problems at all. I have been here in Mexico for over a month now, coming up on a month and a half. Aside from it being ridiculously hot in the summer, it is sunny, it is beautiful, and I get to spend my days doing work along the ocean. It is really tough to beat right now, especially because life feels pretty close to normal. Now, while I can only tell you what it's like to travel here in Mexico right now in the small region of Quintana Roo, many tourist destinations around the world will likely have a similar story. First of all, most Airbnbs, hotels, and other accommodation businesses are fully operational. So not only can you stay there for the night, but in many cases, the pools are still open, the restaurants are still open, so breakfast, lunch, all the way through to dinner. The one service that you may or may not find operational will be the spa, but that totally depends on the country and the hotel which you visit. And one of the greatest benefits of traveling during this time is lower cost. I've found that hotels tend to be as low as half the price of the usual. Right now I'm renting a car for $10 a day, so there's some serious cost savings that come with traveling during a low demand period. And in some cases you can even find some really affordable flights. Welcome to the newest Lost headquarters here in Tulum, Mexico, and it's been an absolutely beautiful place to call our home base. This is a hotel by the name of Copal Tulum, and it's been such an awesome place to work. We've got like 2 full bedrooms, we've got a full kitchen, we've got a living room. This right here is where the Lost Creator Academy videos have been filming, and right out there is the Mayan jungle. Now, one thing you should know is that staff working in these businesses are all wearing masks, whether they work in the kitchen, the front desk, or the people cleaning the rooms. And one thing I've noticed too is that the probably 3-star to 5-star hotels are all advertising that they properly disinfect the rooms before the next guest. So hopefully that gives you a bit of peace of mind. Let's talk about the thing that probably makes people the most uneasy to travel right now, and that is flying. 2 months ago, the airport was completely empty. It literally felt like something out of a post-apocalyptic movie, and it was crazy. I mean, I could literally go straight up and drop my bag, get my boarding pass, and next thing I knew, I was basically going through security and onto the flight. I'm not gonna lie, it was actually a little nice. Now fast forward a month and things felt a lot more normal. There was queues, long lines, people waiting to get their boarding passes and check in, with the exception of the fact that your mask has to stay on through the airport and through your flights. So that means you're gonna have that mask on for a long time, with the exception of being able to eat. There's been a lot of rumors that airlines would not be selling the middle seat, that way everybody had space between them, but that's just not true from my experience. Right now, airlines are selling to maximum occupancy, and I honestly have nothing to gripe about that because these airlines are hanging on by a thread. There is a chance you will have somebody sitting next to you if you decide to fly. On my first flight, as I mentioned, the airport was empty and therefore I had an entire row to myself. But on probably 2 of my 3 recent flights getting here to Mexico, yeah, it took me 3 flights to get here. On 2 of those 3 flights, I did have strangers sitting next to me. I should also mention that normally it would be a direct flight from Vancouver here to Cancun, but that is the reality of air travel right now. Most of the routes are not operating normally, so it might take you a few extra stops. Once at the airport, the only real difference was the fact that I had to fill in a COVID questionnaire. I handed that in and I was on my way. Nothing was really all that different, at least when arriving in Mexico. Each country is going to be different. Some countries will actually require that you have pre-testing done before arriving in the country. So usually that's 72 to 94 hours in advance of landing that you have to actually have gone through, done the swab, done the screening, ensure that you have a doctor's note saying that you are COVID free, in which case you're able to enter that country. Again, Mexico is not one of those countries. Another thing that will be different from country to country is whether they enforce a 2-week lockdown. For Mexico, you do not by law need to lock down. If you go to most states, states in the United States, you do not need to lock down, but if you go to Hawaii, you do. So it's again, very dependent on where you're flying to. Things are changing day to day. If you're going to fly anywhere, do your research. One thing you should know about this video is that a lot of the footage was actually not captured by me. It was shot by other people all over the world. And the reason I was able to use this footage is because I go to Storyblocks.com whenever I'm missing that visual clip that I need to help tell my story. Storyblocks is a subscription service, so once you subscribe to their unlimited plan, you have the ability to download as many clips as you need to get your project completed. And because all the clips from the Storyblocks database are royalty free, it means that you're able to keep your projects completely monetized even after using somebody else's footage. So if you want to see how Storyblocks can help your channel as it has mine, then check out that link down below. And now I'm gonna take a dip because I am sweating profusely. So you might be wondering, what can I do if I actually go traveling now? Are things reopened? Are things back to normal? And I thought the best way to answer that would be to show you what we've done this morning. We are here in the Mayan jungle, and right behind me is Max. And behind Max are monkeys, all through the treetops. Now, hotels and restaurants are fully operational, but the thing that might be a little bit mixed right now is activities. I've found that most tour operators are back in business, but some businesses have decided to remain closed, especially those that require very close proximity to guests. I'm talking about spas, I'm talking about some cenotes, and I'm also talking about barbershops. A lot of these kinds of businesses have decided to stay closed because of the higher risk, but that's not to say they're all closed. I can only share my experience with you, but I will say that I've been able to go to cenotes here in Tulum. I've been able to go swimming with the whale sharks. So a lot of tour operators are in business. It's not across the board. It kind of depends on the business. And of course, it depends on where you're at, because some countries have told businesses that they have to remain shut. Like hotels, restaurants are back in business, and thank God, because it is just so delicious here in Tulum. There's a requirement to have a temperature check, and you have to apply hand sanitizer before going in. But aside from that, it is business as usual. The area you're going to notice the biggest changes are going to be around nightlife. Now, here in Tulum, what they're doing is they're restricting the amount of time that you're able to stay out. All bars, clubs, beach clubs, and restaurants must shut by 11 o'clock. And that means they can't sell any more alcohol and they can't sell any more food after that time. So it's one of their ways to hopefully reduce the late night spread. On the other hand, in Vancouver, Canada, they weren't actually limiting the late night hours, but instead were limiting the amount of people allowed into bars and restaurants. I think we can all understand why these compromises are being made. So this right here is going to be the hardest part for me to answer in this video, and that is whether you should start traveling. This is something that's naturally going to be a little controversial. It's going to be divisive. Not everybody is going to agree with my point of view. I'm not saying I have the perfect answer, but I'm going to give you mine. I believe that in 2020, we have to be responsible travelers. I don't think we should completely ban it, outlaw it. I think that this is something that is so important. Firstly, for local economies. People all around the world rely on tourism money to be able to support their families, keep their businesses open, and if we all together stop traveling, the world will be a very different place at the end of this, if there is an end to this. Secondly, travel is a foundational part to my lifestyle, a foundational part to what makes me happy, and I don't believe that people should completely give up the things that give them life, that give them joy. This is where, again, it's so important that we find those ways to do it responsibly. The sad truth is, whether you decide to stay inside of your house and limit your exposure to the outside world, only doing that weekly shopping trip, or whether you decide to come down to the beaches here in Tulum and stay socially distant, you still run the risk of being exposed. In life, there are risks in everything that we do. But at the end of the day, we have to decide how much risk we're willing to take and how much of our life we're willing to sacrifice. And personally, my decision in all this is to hold on to the things that matter most to me in life, but find ways to compromise and to alter and change these things so that I can do it responsibly. Wearing a mask where it's necessary, like a flight or going into the grocery store. Choosing venues and destinations that allow me to remain socially distant, and avoiding large get-togethers of people who I don't know. Does it mean I'll be forever protected? Definitely not. I am taking risks every single day, but I am measuring my risk, and this is how I've decided to continue living my life. This might not be the right decision for you, but my goal is not to tell you what to do. I cannot answer whether it is right for you to travel. I can only share with you what travel is going to look like for the next year, potentially even more. Scares me to say it, but the truth is we do not know when or if an end is in sight. And that is why I continue to travel in 2020 and how I believe it can be done responsibly. Guys, as you can see, a ton of love and effort and research went into making this video. So if you enjoyed it, if you found it helpful, please hit that like button. It really makes a big difference to my channel. If you want to see more of my face, if you want to see more of beautiful Mexico, because there's a lot to come on that, then hit the subscribe button and let's get lost again in the next one.